The Ghosts of Tope Street, a tragedy of abuse and injustice. The humid Florida air hung heavy on January 6, 1999, as a chilling scene unfolded in the modest home on Tope Street in Port St. John. 13-year-old Catherine and 12-year-old Curtis Jones, siblings bound by a shared trauma and a desperate desire for escape, carried out a plan that would forever alter their lives and stain the quiet suburban street. Their victim, Nicole Spites, their father's girlfriend, who lay lifeless on the bathroom floor, a victim of their desperate act of violence. This was not a crime born of cold-blooded malice, but rather a tragic culmination of years of neglect, abuse, and a system that failed to protect two innocent children. The Jones siblings, products of a volatile and abusive home, were not simply perpetrators, but also victims themselves, trapped in a cycle of violence that had begun long before the fateful day on Tope Street. Their mother, Stacy Parks, recounted a life marked by the relentless brutality of Curtis Jones Sr., their father. "The violence started within a month of us dating," she recalled in a sworn affidavit. "He hit me while I was pregnant, causing a tear in my uterus." This early trauma had a profound impact, contributing to Catherine's premature birth and setting the stage for a childhood dominated by fear and instability. The marriage, a turbulent affair from the outset, was marked by frequent episodes of domestic violence. Parks, desperate to escape the cycle of abuse, fled the home in 1989, leaving behind her young children. However, the escape proved short-lived. Driven by fear and financial constraints, she was forced to return, leaving Catherine and Curtis at the mercy of their abusive father. The presence of a family member, a convicted intercourse offender, further exacerbated the children's plight. This individual, who had previously served time for intercourse assault, resided in the household, sharing a room with young Curtis. Despite multiple red flags and alarming reports of abuse, the child welfare system repeatedly failed to intervene effectively. In 1994, Curtis confided in his mother about being intercourse abused by the family member. However, upon returning to Florida, he recanted his statement, likely due to fear of repercussions from his father. A subsequent investigation, triggered by concerns from a school teacher, uncovered further evidence of potential abuse, including physical and intercourse molestation. However, Catherine denied the allegations, likely coerced by her father. The investigation was ultimately closed, with authorities offering parenting and counseling services that were promptly rejected by the father. This pattern of missed opportunities and inadequate intervention would have dire consequences. The children, desperate for a way out of their abusive situation, began to formulate a desperate plan. Their target, not just their father and the abusive family member, but also Nicole Spites, their father's girlfriend. Catherine, tormented by the abuse and the constant fear that permeated their lives, began to plot a desperate escape. She confided in Curtis, who, sharing the burden of the abuse, agreed to help. The plan was chillingly simple: eliminate the obstacles to their freedom. The trigger for their actions came after a particularly traumatic incident. Catherine, while showering, was confronted by the family member, who proceeded to intercourse assault her. This horrific event solidified their resolve. They would take matters into their own hands. On that fateful January day, with their father away from the house, the siblings seized the opportunity. Armed with their father's 9mm semi-automatic handgun, they turned their rage and desperation upon Nicole Spites. The ensuing violence was swift and brutal, leaving Spites lifeless on the bathroom floor. The aftermath of the crime was a chaotic blur of fear and confusion. The siblings, overwhelmed by their actions, attempted to cover their tracks, cleaning the scene and concocting a story of accidental shooting. However, the evidence, including the trail of blood and the meticulous cleaning efforts, pointed to a premeditated act. The legal proceedings that followed were marked by intense scrutiny and public outrage. The siblings, incredibly young for such a heinous crime, were charged as adults with first-degree murder, facing the possibility of life imprisonment. Their defense, led by a team of dedicated attorneys, sought to present a nuanced picture of the children's lives, highlighting the years of abuse and neglect that had shaped their actions. However, the legal system, with its emphasis on retribution, offered little room for mitigating circumstances. Ultimately, the siblings pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for 18-year prison sentences. This decision, while sparing them life imprisonment, still meant a significant portion of their lives would be spent behind bars. Life in prison has been a stark contrast to the life they once knew. Catherine, grappling with the psychological scars of abuse and imprisonment, described the challenges of adjusting to life behind bars. "In here you can't trust people," she said. "Everyone has a motive for everything. I don't really know how to relate to people. I was exposed to things that I never would have been exposed to at home. There is no way to grow into something different." Despite the hardships, Catherine maintains a glimmer of hope. She dreams of pursuing higher education, earning a law degree, and perhaps even opening a restaurant. However, the path to recovery is long and arduous, filled with the lingering trauma of abuse and the weight of her past actions. The case of Catherine and Curtis Jones serves as a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked child abuse and the systemic failures that can exacerbate the problem. The child welfare system, despite its best intentions, often struggles to effectively intervene in cases of abuse and neglect. The Jones case highlights the critical need for improved investigative protocols. More thorough and timely investigations into child abuse allegations are crucial. Enhanced support services. Increased access to mental health services, therapy, and support programs for children who have experienced trauma is essential for their healing and rehabilitation. Focus on prevention. Efforts to prevent child abuse must extend beyond reactive interventions. This includes addressing issues such as poverty, domestic violence, and inadequate parental support. The story of the Jones siblings is a tragedy on multiple levels. It is a tragedy of abuse, of neglect, of a system that failed to protect two innocent children, and ultimately a tragedy of lost potential. As Catherine and Curtis navigate the complexities of their lives behind bars, the question remains: how can we prevent such tragedies from occurring again?